Consensus versus buy-in. You know, if life were a show, all decisions could be made by consensus, and everyone would be happy, and they would be good decisions. But this isn't TV. This isn't even reality TV. This is reality. And sometimes consensus just isn't possible. And sometimes it isn't desirable. Do we all agree? This is Leadership Radio. Now stay tuned for more. Welcome back to our program. I'm Kerry Southorn, your host. And so that you don't miss future episodes of Leadership Excellence, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and we always appreciate the thumbs up. Consensus versus buy-in. We have an interesting video clip a little later on for you where Vergil Schmidt of Texas makes fun of my hat, but more importantly, he discusses a real-life situation where the difference between consensus and buy-in came into play. We're also going to follow this up with a future video where we delve deeper into the topic and we take it one step further from consensus to buy-in to ownership. But first, a few words about consensus. What is it? Well, someone has defined it where people agree to say collectively what no one believes individually. Well, that might be a little bit hard on consensus, but there are limitations. Consensus can either be hard to arrive at or easy. Wow, what a great concept. Well, let's look at both scenarios, shall we? First of all, the situation where consensus is hard to get to, and this is likely where there's a large number of people involved. First of all, it's going to be a slow slug, and it's going to burn up time that a leader and an organization often do not have. And once you get there, it'll likely be a weak decision. Why is that? Because there's been so many ideas and opinions that have been thrown into the top of the hopper that what comes out the bottom is likely to be weak. And buy-in is nowhere to be found because no one is really happy with the result. How about the circumstance where consensus is easy? Well, I suppose one of the advantages you can get there quickly. But when you get to the consensus quickly, it can be a very shallow one. There's been very little thought, very little discussion, very little gristing of the mill, so to speak. And once again, buy-in is headed for the hills because no one even cares. Well, there's some of the challenges with consensus. And now we're going to head into the video by Dr. Vergil Schmidt, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Well, we'd like to welcome from Texas, Dr. Vergil Schmidt, and I hope you appreciate the welcome I'm giving you today with a good Texas hat. And I've got a question for you today. Could you relate a time through your experiences in leadership when you kind of learned a lesson by surprise? Maybe not an overnight surprise, but nonetheless something you weren't really expecting.
I sure can, Kerry, and thank you for the invitation. And by the way, congratulations on your 10-gallon hat. You will be an automatic success here in Texas. I learned one of the most serious lessons of my career in a very negative context when I worked for 5 years to develop a model of transition, and that model was overthrown at the end of my tenure. I learned that even though I had consensus all the way through that 5-year process, I did not have buy-in. And because I did not have buy-in, the vision I envisioned was never enacted. And therefore, one of the failures in my career was not to be aware of the need for buy-in. I assumed that consensus was equal to buy-in, and it is not.
Well, I really appreciate that, highlighting the difference between consensus and buy-in. Buy-in goes a whole lot deeper, doesn't it?
Yes, it sure does.